Chapter 5 is yard management. So after completing this chapter, we'll be able to describe EWM yard management functionality, list the structural elements involved in yard management, create transportation units, process transportation units using yard management functionality, and monitor inventory and transportation units in the yard. A couple of the key terms for this chapter, I'll just run through some of them because there'll be a few of them are different from the other chapters where they were all the same. So a checkpoint is a location where vehicles or TUs arrive or leave the yard. It can represent a physical gate at the yard entrance or a virtual gate from which data is transmitted. Extended warehouse management is obviously EWM, which is our warehouse management system. The dock door connects the yard to the warehouse, and vehicle and TUs arrive at doors for loading and unloading. Our RF device that allows the real-time communication between warehouse employees and the EWM system. Storage bin, a logistics area which is a sub-area of a warehouse. A storage bin is the smallest addressable unit of space in an EWM warehouse and has no sub-areas. Storage type, the highest organisational element in the warehouse structure. It is a storage space, facility or zone defined per warehouse in EWM. It is a physical or logical subdivision of a warehouse complex, characterised by its warehouse technologies, space or function. So a transportation unit, this is the smallest loadable unit of a vehicle that is used to transport goods. The transportation unit can be, but does not need to be, part of the vehicle. So for us, a transportation unit will represent the trailers that are coming in and out of our sites. A yard, an area outside a warehouse where vehicles and transportation units are dealt with, waiting to be dealt with, or waiting to be collected by an external carrier. And finally, yard management is used to manage warehouse yards. The yard is where you maintain vehicles and transportation units that arrive or depart. So some of the key changes, there'll be real-time analytics on inventory stock values, quantities and movements. Efficient drill down of material document items will enable greater insight and quicker resolution. EWM provides streamlined warehouse operations, improved goods movement and storage processes. Yard management will provide more efficient monitoring of yard storage and transport planning for product held in trucks and trailers. And ASNs will provide an overview of incoming shipments from suppliers, allowing for more efficient transportation planning and inbound processing. So yard management, what is it? Yard management is part of EWM's advanced functionality. EWM yard management is used to manage a warehouse yard, the area where vehicles or transportation units arrive, depart, or keep inventory for possible extended periods of time. What does it do? EWM yards management uses warehouse tasks to map movements from arrival to departure in the yard, as well as to and from warehouse doors for loading and unloading. The yard is monitored using the warehouse monitor and is closely intertwined with EWM's advanced inbound and outbound processes. So the warehouse yard. The warehouse yard is an area outside a warehouse where vehicles and transportation units are dealt with, waiting to be dealt with, or waiting to be collected by an external carrier. A yard represents a separate storage type in the warehouse, and the corresponding storage bins are mapped as yard bins. So just an example, parking spaces could be a storage bin, a physical spot in the yard. Your checkpoints, so the location where vehicles and TUs arrive or leave the yard. So it could represent a physical gate. So as they come in, they arrive, and you're basically moving that TU to the checkpoint and then to the yard bin, or straight onto a door. And the last one is doors. The door connects the yard to the warehouse. Vehicles and TUs arrive at the door for loading and unloading. Any questions so far?
No, you're okay, mate.
So just a high overview of the process. So the TU arrives at the checkpoint, and then it's either, is it going straight to a door or is it going into the yard? So if it's going into the yard, you'd assign it to a yard bin. And on the RF, you create the task, physically move it on the RF gun, and then just confirm it that it's in the yard. And then when you were looking at your warehouse monitor, you'd see which transportation units were sat in the yard. So I suppose for inbound deliveries of raw materials, if you had stuff in the yard, you'd have visibility, because the inbound delivery will be assigned to the transportation unit that's arrived. And then the next bit would be move to the door or depart the trailer. So then you do a task on the RF, moving the TU from the yard to the door for unloading or loading. And then again, the opposite, move back when it's leaving, sign to the checkpoint, and then just click depart from checkpoint, and it's left the yard. The other way would be, it can, rather than assigning to yard bins, if it's going straight onto a warehouse door to be tipped in, you just assign it to the warehouse door, then physically move the TU to the warehouse door, and then finally confirm that task, and that transportation unit would be sat on one of your dot doors. So the dot doors will be storage bins as well.
Whose role will that fall under, Phil? Will that be the shunters or?
What's that? Sorry, Andy.
Sorry, mate. Whose role will that be? Will it be the shunters or will it be the warehouse manager? Or?
So this is something I've noted on the change impact tracker, because obviously this is a change to what we do at all our WM sites. A lot of it is paper and pen.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to be having a session in the new year to sort of map out how this will work.
Yeah.
And who would be doing what and what impact it would have. So I suppose, strictly speaking, as long as they were at the checkpoint, then obviously whoever was dealing with the trailer, if it was someone on dispatch, they could then, on the monitor, you can move the trailer to the door that they want, and then for the warehouse. But it's when the part's up in the yard. In an ideal world, I suppose that initial bit would be done by somebody who is dealing with it. But would we really want our shunters with RF guns driving around the yard?
I know what you mean.
That's the point I sort of made. We don't have that amount of RFs either, so it'd be extra resource if we wanted to buy extra RFs.
Yeah.
And it is quite. I should be able to show you this on the system, so it is quite easy to do on the monitor.
Yeah.
But then you've got the other bit. If it's not the shunters, are we relying on them shouting to the warehouse or somebody in the factory saying, "Can you move this trailer into the yard bin?"
Yeah, it's that gives you a bit of thinking, doesn't it? So if he forgets to shout it or somebody doesn't hear him, you've sort of lost that communication, haven't you?
Yeah. So that's something we'll be looking into. It's a shame, really, because it's a good system and it's very simple to use. Yeah. And if you were at, ironically, some of the IM sites, because you've got control rooms who are dealing with the trailers as they come in, it would work perfectly. I remember reaching out to most of the sites, and I think our yard management at the EWM sites is pretty manual. Yeah. So it's it's skin on the shunters with paper and pen in the yard, and they just manage.
And if you got a spare pen.
Yeah. So it is good. It'll give us a lot more visibility, and you'll be able to track transportation units that have left. But so moving on, this is the transportation unit. It is a vital element in yard management processes and is part of EWM's advanced functionality. The transportation unit is the smallest loadable unit of a vehicle that is used to transport goods. A transportation unit can also be a component of a vehicle, e.g. a drop trailer. I don't know how valid that would be for us, to be fair. So to create a transportation unit serves as a transportation of goods to a warehouse, from a warehouse, or a storage of inventory in the yard. When creating a transportation unit, deliveries are associated with the TU, which associates it with the relevant inventory for any further processing, e.g. goods receipt or goods issuing. Means of transport specifies the type of trailer, pack material, and activity direction, whether it's for inbound or outbound. So I should note at this point, most of our transportation units should already be created through GTMS. So for us, this bit of creating transportation units, this shouldn't really be something that we are doing. There might be times when we have to, if you've got a flyer delivery or something that's not GTMS relevant, that might be something where we quickly have to just create a transportation unit. But most of the time, this bit should be done. And if you, can you see at the bottom there? This is these are the screens. So I should be able to show you that. So if you maintain transportation unit tab. So it's this is set for SCEM, so we'll just we'll do it as SCEM. So create, and then these are the options. Obviously, the ones with the stars are the bits that we'd have to fill in. So these are truck pack material. This has already been set. So that's the truck pack material, and then the activity direction. So what I'll do, I'll make this outbound because we've not got an inbound delivery to assign to. So I would imagine this is the sort of thing that this would already be done for us. These should already be created. So that's an outbound. So that transportation unit has now been created. So it's not in the yard. It's obviously been created for SCEM. It's due to come in and deal with an outbound delivery. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
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 Like I say, any questions, just stop me. So I'll leave that on there. So that is the transportation unit created, and you can see there where it says the activity direction. So we know that is number 2. So I'll just click on that for you. It's for an outbound. And if you see there, that one changes as well through the process. So the activity state at the minute is 0. So it's just planned. It's not arrived or anything like that. So, like I say, the tile that was just on maintain transportation unit. So this tile can move transportation units to the checkpoint for movement to a warehouse door or placement in a yard to create and confirm the warehouse order or tasks. So I'll just there's a couple of slides here so you can see where you'd be moving from the yard once it's been checked in, and you can see the source bin is the yard, and then the destination bin is door 4, and then they're the screenshots there. That's what the RF would look like. So that's your transportation unit ID. That's the process type we just put in, and then it says source bin, destination bin, and then you just confirm it through. And then when you looked on your monitor, that transportation unit would be on door 4. Exactly the same. This is just the opposite. You finish with it, you're moving it from door 4 back to the yard.
Yeah.
So if sorry. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this has been created. It's for an outbound delivery. You just come on and select arrival and departure. So you can see there at the top where I've just highlighted you at the check-in and out point. So I suppose this is the bit mainly where we'd be thinking who would be doing this, and you literally click arrival at checkpoint. And can you see there, the activity state changed to 1. So yeah, so that trailer is now checked into our yard. Oh, sorry, that is at our checkpoint. We'll just save that. And then if I go into the RF environment, internal processes, yard movements, and then you can create and confirm ad hoc tasks. So you just put the transportation unit number in. I think that was the number. Just, yeah, it is, yeah. So you can see there, it's automatically come up with the source bin being the checkpoint because we've arrived at site.
Yeah.
So what would normally happen here is you'd move it to a yard bin, because if it was being parked in the yard, let's just say this was going straight to a door. So this represents door 10, Andy, at Skem. So this is like I say, this is for an outbound delivery. So just
be for the finished goods.
So this can be done on an RF gun, but obviously we're doing it here. So you just confirm that storage bin, enter. Ooh. What's going on there? So yeah, just confirming it, and that door, that trailer is now on the door. So just see if we can prove it works. I'll just go into the warehouse monitor. So storage type, it's a door. So this should come up with a list of storage bin, basically our dock doors and the Skem. The example, so you can see there 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 20, 21, which is us at the warehouse. And can you there door 10, number of handling units it's got on there. So there's a transportation unit on there. And then the opposite, unfortunately I've not got an outbound delivery to show you. You do the outbound process onto the transportation unit, and then once it was complete, you can just do the opposite. So you have movements. So this time, so DO1. So automatically put your transportation unit again, automatically comes up with the door. So we're putting it back to the checkpoint now because it's leaving. So this is at the gate now. Yeah, and what would normally happen once it's loaded, the activity would change to 2 because it's been completed. It's coming to do what it needs to do. Obviously not an outbound delivery. So let's just look at the monitor. So you can see there 1 handling unit on door 10. Move to the checkpoint. It's gone off the door now. So we're finished with it. Departed. Oh, apology. The activity status changes once you've departed it. So that's now Skem.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just the yard management function and the TU function. It's just something that we have to use for the to enable the rest of the advanced EWM process to work, if that makes sense. So, for example, it all interlinks. So that an inbound delivery that's assigned to a transportation unit, the system knows that inbound delivery is on there. So when you put that transportation unit, say, onto door 1 at Tolwell Simon, when they're going to receive it, they can put the door in their RF, and it will know exactly what inbound delivery it's receiving in and from what supplier.
Fantastic. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So I'm not going to lie. There's the piece around who would do what, and it's obviously probably a bit different. You know, for maybe the smaller sites, it's just a couple of transactions on a screen. But I can see where it might get a little bit fuzzy, if that makes sense, in terms of who's doing what. Because if you had a control room or security or something, if you were able to do that, then your checking in of the trailers, it would all be done for you, and we'd just be doing the bit where we're moving the trailers from the yard to the dock doors and vice versa.
You have to get Mumbles on security doing it for you.
I don't think we'll be trusting him with SAP. I don't like it. So yeah, just going through basically what I've shown you. These are the screenshots, the arrival and departure. And that's basically it for yard management. So what is a yard? A yard's an area outside a warehouse where vehicles and transportation units are dealt with, waiting to be dealt with, or waiting to be collected by a carrier. The yard it's true, the yard is its own storage type. Example of transportation units are a truck or a drop trailer. What is the first step in processing TUs using yard management? And that is the arriving at the checkpoint, which I showed you on SAP. And the Fiori app that's used to monitor inventory in the yard would be the warehouse monitor. So that was where I was showing you which dock doors had TUs or handling units assigned to it.
I would have got all them right, mate.
What, sorry, Andy?
I would have got all them right.
So that's what we've done through that chapter. And describe yard management functionality, list the structural elements involved in yard management, create transportation units, processing TUs using yard management functionality, and then monitoring inventory and TUs that are in the yard. So the next chapter is advanced outbound processing. Some of this is relevant to us, but obviously we don't do any customer sales orders and stuff like that from our EWM sites. So there is bits of this that are quite in depth that would be more feasible for Poland, where they do customer orders and load directly to customer from the factory or the EWM site. So this chapter will describe EWM advanced outbound processing for warehouse activities, create and release waves, differentiate between EWM outbound delivery document types, and perform yard movements relevant to advanced outbound processing. So I will say as well, obviously probably more for me and you, Neil, in terms of updating the deck, but the factory clearance, the design solution is still not complete. So we'll obviously that will be in terms of EWM, that will be the main one that our super users are going to be interested in terms of how the factory clearance works. So we'll add those slides as and when.
Okay.
Like I say, you might have to bear with me with this chapter, because like I say, quite a bit of it isn't as relevant to us in the UK. So these are just some of the terms again. I think the majority of them we've already been through. If anybody wants me to go through anything, just let me know. So some of the key changes, so system directed put away, picking, replenishment, cycle counting and other warehouse tasks using RF devices, which will enhance warehouse productivity. Batch management will be active throughout the logistics process for more efficient tracking and tracing. EWM provides streamlined warehouse operations, improved goods movements and storage processes. Yard management will provide more efficient monitoring of the yard storage and transport planning for product held in trucks and trailers. Quality integration throughout the logistics process will result in standard adherence to PepsiCo quality management policy. Batch determination will be done at the warehouse pit level to account for warehouse structure and the most efficient picking strategies. There will be real-time analytics on inventory stock values, quantities and movements. Efficient drill down of material document items will enable greater insight and quicker resolutions. So what is EWM advanced processing? This refers to the process of how warehouse performs system-directed picking, packing and shipping operations for a customer or other PepsiCo plant using advanced extended warehouse management functionality. What does it do? It utilises specific advanced features such as wave management and transportation unit planning and execution. Batch management is incorporated throughout the process for relevant batch managed materials using batch determination functionality for system suggested picking of materials that fulfill customer requirements, and posting goods issue for material updates, stock quantities and communicated valuated stock data to the financial accounting for further processing. So again, these are just your number ranges. So these are for outbound, so that would be an outbound delivery for a customer and STO, stock transport order. So just a brief overview of the flow there for outbound. So you've got your outbound delivery created and then the transportation unit creation and delivery assigned. And then when it arrives, you've got your yard management in the middle. So you're checking in, checking out, adding to the doors. For this, you've got some wave management and then perform system directed pick, pack, load activities. And finally would be the post goods issue. So wave management, EWM uses wave management to combine items or split items from warehouse requests for outbound deliveries into waves. A warehouse request is a document that enables the processing of warehouse activities for a specific product, route or activity. A wave is a grouping of warehouse requests that control warehouse activities. These groupings are then processed together in subsequent processes and assign certain warehouse tasks to be created. When the wave is released, the warehouse tasks are created, then forwarded to the warehouse order creation. And then a warehouse order is an executable work package consisting of warehouse tasks to be performed by the warehouse employee. Waves can be processed manually or automatically. A wave template is a schema that defines the attributes of all the waves based on it. Wave templates serve as an infrastructure for automatic wave assignment, allowing the same wave attributes to be reused for different warehouse request items that comply with the same conditions. So pick by order, a wave template that groups warehouse requests for execution of warehouse tasks to be picked by individual outbound delivery, or pick by route, wave template that groups warehouse requests from different EWM outbound delivery orders together based on the same route. So I think this is where this probably won't be as relevant to us because we're not if we discount factory clearance, the only outbound we would be doing from EWM sites are the STOs from Torwell or Skem warehouse. So it would literally be a case of you just have one type of wave and you can drop that wave in and it would automatically. Let me just see if I can on the monitor. So obviously there's no data in here, but if you add outbound deliveries in here, they would be in this section here where you'd be able to see all the details. There will be slides in the pack we'll go through, but I just thought I'd show it on SAP. And then as far as I'm aware, the idea was you'd be able to select that delivery, hit the wave button, and then that would create the warehouse task for the warehouse to go and complete against that delivery. So the equivalent of dropping a load in IMI nil for us. Apologies, gone back a bit. So wave templates picking by order, wave templates that group warehouse requests for execution of warehouse tasks to be picked by individual outbound delivery order. So as you can see, there's lots of different breakdowns into it. I doubt this would ever get that complex for us in EWM, but you've got your order and then your request and then your tasks within that, and they can all be part of the same wave when you dropped it in. And then obviously the added bit here is you can pick by route. So the wave template that groups warehouse requests from different EWM outbound delivery orders together based on the same route. Like I say, I don't think this bit would be relevant for us. So this is just an overview of the flow for advanced outbound processing. So obviously with the advanced bit, the difference between this and just normal EWM outbound processing is you've obviously got a lot of the transportation unit interaction with it. So you've got the planning part at the top where the TU's been assigned and create delivery. It's assigned to the staging area, assigned to the dock door, and then we can create the wave. And then it's the actual execution bit alongside it where the TU arrives at the checkpoint, arrives at the dock door, you actually release that wave that's been created. Pick, pack, stage, load, post goods issue, and then the trailer departs. Any questions?
Nope.
This is the same slide. It's just highlighted the planning bit there at the top. So using the shipping cockpit planning, Fiori app warehouse management can perform outbound planning based on complete outbound delivery orders. Additionally, the shipping cockpit can be used for assigning staging areas, doors for loading, and creating waves. You can see here, so you can use the shipping cockpit for planning, Fiori app for advanced outbound delivery transportation planning. From this app, warehouse management can capture planned outbound deliveries and assign them to TUs. Once the deliveries are assigned, warehouse management can use the shipping cockpit to plan which staging areas and doors TUs will be assigned. In addition, the cockpit can be used to manually create waves by wave templates. And the next part is the actual execution. So the execution portion of advanced EWM outbound processing uses yard management functionality for the arrival or departure of TUs to the checkpoint and warehouse doors for loading. So picking, packing, staging, loading. Queue is a logical file to which warehouse tasks for processing are assigned. Queues define movements by which work in the warehouse is managed and assigned. Once a wave is created, it must be released. Releasing a wave makes the warehouse order or warehouse tasks associated with a wave available for processing by warehouse employees. You can use the Process Waves app to manually release previously created waves. When using the RF device, those warehouse tasks can then be accessed from the system-guided queue for outbound processing by waves. And again, like we were discussing yesterday, if there is no RF devices, you can actually use the monitor to confirm any task through. I don't think that would really be relevant for outbound deliveries though. So pick, pack, stage, load, and post goods issue. So once an outbound delivery is created in EWM and are ready to be processed, warehouse order tasks are created for subsequent confirmation of system directed activities prior to the post goods issue. So you can see the process of how it would go. You'd have your task creation, confirm the packaging material. Guys in the warehouse would actually pick the product from the storage bin. They would put it in the staging area, and then you do your loading and post goods issue. And again, all of this can be done on an RF gun or from the warehouse monitor. So the warehouse monitor can be used to display and process completed and open outbound deliveries at various stages of the delivery process. You can access my warehouse monitor to view outbound deliveries to customers, confirm warehouse orders and warehouse tasks, assign resources and more. So that's the screen I was showing you there. If you can see the outbound delivery order, that was where we were before. So an outbound delivery order from the warehouse monitor, you can click directly on the delivery item to view delivery details such as the document number, stock status and batch number and processing status. So you can see there, if you can see at the bottom, the batch part is blank. So the batch information will only be populated after the picking and packing activities are performed and confirmed, which I think you will see on the next slide. If you can see here now, once all the necessary picking, packing and staging is confirmed, you would select the goods issue and the status of goods issue will change from not started to completed, which you can see at the top. And if you notice now the outbound delivery has been completed and the loading and picking and loading has been complete, the batch is updated in the outbound delivery. Make sense?
Yeah. Makes sense. How do we manage it if we have potentially, say, product on hold? Quite often we've had to put a hold on it, and we've got stuff that's on the pick face or stuff that is outbound. How would we manage it once the batch information is issued?
Is that you, Simon?
Yes, it is.
Are you thinking from an SRDC point of view?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, so they'll still be on IMI.
Ah, okay, yeah.
They won't be using this. SRDC will still be IMI warehouse. They'll have the inventory management module, which will replace Oracle.
Okay, no, that's great. I get that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So which application is used for advanced planning delivery? Sorry, advanced outbound delivery planning. So that would be the shipping cockpit. True or false, one TU represents one customer outbound delivery order. That is false. You can actually have... Go on, sorry, does somebody have a question? No, somebody have a question or okay to carry on?
Yeah, carry on, Phil.
Oh, sorry. So false, multiple orders can be assigned to one transportation unit. Like I say, I don't know how relevant that would be for us in EWM. Two types of wave templates. You can pick by wave or pick by order. So true or false, once a wave is created, warehouse picking processes can start. That's false. The wave must be released after it's been created, and then the task will be available for picking. And this one EWM functionality unique to EWM advanced processing. So 3 we've got are wave management, transportation unit processing, and the yard management piece. So they're the main different functionalities for us in terms of advanced outbound processing. So describe the EWM advanced outbound processing warehouse activities, create and release waves, differentiate between the EWM outbound delivery document types, and perform yard movements relevant to advanced outbound processing. So now we are at, this is chapter 7. So this is the EWM. So this is internal warehouse processes. So stuff that activities you'd be carrying out within the warehouse that aren't to do with inbound and outbound processes. So this chapter should hopefully help us understand and perform core inventory management tasks, perform ad hoc warehouse movement and scrap procedures, create and confirm replenishment, execute the warehouse exception process for delivery processing, and develop a basic understanding of cross-dock functionality. So I'll just let you read through some of these. I think they're pretty much all the same as the other chapters. Any questions from anyone, or are you happy to carry on?
Yeah, just carry on, Phil.
Yeah, carry on, mate.
Same here.
Yeah, so the same again, some of the key changes. So probably repeating myself, but system directed put away, picking, replenishment, cycle counting, and other warehouse tasks using RF devices will enhance warehouse productivity. Batch management will be active throughout the logistics process for more efficient tracking and tracing. Extended warehouse management provides streamlined warehouse operation, improved goods movement and storage processes. The quality integration throughout the logistics process will result in a standard adherence to PepsiCo quality management policy. Batch determination will be done at the warehouse pit level to account for warehouse structure and the most efficient picking strategies. There will also be real-time analytics on inventory stock values, quantities and movements. An efficient drill down of material document items will enable greater insight and quicker resolutions. So they're just the slides that we saw at the beginning of the deck about how S4 and EWM speak to each other. So all the information from EWM will go back to S4 and vice versa. When you perform the inbound delivery, when you process it, that will go through to S4, and exactly the same when S4 creates the inbound delivery, that will be distributed to EWM. So internal warehouse processing refers to internal inventory management processes, including stock transfers between storage locations, transfer postings, and goods issued to the cost center. With the transfer, so looking at stock transfer, with the transfer stock in plant, Fiori app, the following task can be performed. A transfer of stock within the plant from one storage location to another. So the relationship between EWM and S4 HANA inventory management creates deliveries when a stock transfer is performed. When stock is being moved from an IM storage location to an EWM storage location, an EWM inbound delivery would be created as stock is being received into the EWM storage location. So you can just see the flow there. So the postcode receipt, the auto pack in the warehouse tasks, system directed put away, and then the confirmation of those tasks being done. So the transfer of stock within the plant from one storage location to another, an IM storage location to an EWM storage location, stock transfer creates a material document and an EWM inbound delivery. So an example scenario, material has been reworked and must be transferred from the returns or reworked storage location that could be managed at the inventory management level, and it's being sent to the finished goods storage location. So an implant transfer posting. So you would enter the relevant search criteria for the material to be transfer posted. Material, batch, plant, specify the following. Storage location, IM is selected first, and then EWM is selected second. I'm not really sure how relevant this actually is to us because we are managing everything within EWM, but the option is there. So you can see there where the arrows are, you're moving it from, in this instance, you're moving it from raw materials to finished goods. And then the outbound delivery document gets created. So the post-goods receipt and follow-on actions. Once the stock transfer from IM to EWM location is performed, the warehouse processes delivery in the same manner as all inbounds. The only difference is that EWM will recognize this delivery type as ZDIG coming from S4HANA and automatically perform the goods receipt, triggering any warehouse order or tasks for employees to process. And again, same at the bottom, any tasks can be completed on the RF gun or from the warehouse monitor. Just another overview of the warehouse monitor that can be used to display all your inbound deliveries within EWM, and you'd be able to see everything that was due for receipt on any particular date variants. So maintaining an inbound delivery from the warehouse monitor, you can click directly on the delivery item to view delivery details such as document number, stock status, batch number, and processing statuses. Once the goods receipt would be performed, that status would then change from not started to completed. And instantaneously, the system will also create any system directed put away tasks for confirmation, and the warehouse activity status will change to partially completed. So this is just showing where you can on the warehouse monitor, you can confirm tasks. So you can see at the bottom there's 2 warehouse tasks. They would come up on your RF gun, but you could also just also confirm the tasks there. If you can see all those arrows, so you've got the warehouse tasks at the bottom, you can just click on that box and they're the options that you would get. And you'd be able to, the one highlighted, if you confirm warehouse task in the background, those handling units would then be moved to the storage bin. So on the opposite, EWM to IM, the relationship between EWM and S4HANA creates deliveries when a stock transfer is performed. When stock is being moved from an EWM storage location to an IM storage location, an EWM outbound delivery will be created as stock is being issued from that EWM storage location. So again, same process. Warehouse task creation, confirm packaging material, pick the product, stage that product, confirm, pick, pack, load stage, and post goods issue. And that's just highlighting the same process. And EWM would recognize the outbound delivery type as ZDOG coming from S4HANA. So just a couple of examples where this might be done. Material's been damaged and must be sent from the EWM storage location to the IM returns or rework storage location where it wouldn't be available for picking. So the product would either be disposed of or a new handling unit would be created after repackaging. So an implant transfer posting. So in this is the same as the last slide, it's just you would pick the EWM location first to move it to the IM location, and then your outbound delivery document be created. So the warehouse monitor can be used to display and process completed or open outbound deliveries at various stages of the delivery processing. And again, you can access the warehouse monitor to view outbound deliveries, confirm warehouse orders, tasks, assign resources, and more. So you can see exactly where you're up to with any deliveries. And again, same as before, warehouse monitor, you can view and confirm created tasks, and the batch information would only be populated after the picking. And again, the same as the inbound scenario. Once you select the goods receipt, that's when your batch information would update in your outbound delivery once the tasks have all been confirmed. Any questions before I just move on to the stock types?
No. Are you okay, mate?
Right, so different stock types. I know we've been through this slide before, but you've got unrestricted stock, which is physically located in the warehouse and not subject to any kind of usage restrictions. This stock is available at the plant storage location as part of MRP. You've then got quality inspection stock, so not counted as unrestricted and may be available for MRP. Quality management data is set at the material master level and can be designated for inspection within the logistics process, e.g. during receipt to the warehouse or during the production process. Block stock, not counted as unrestricted stock and is not available for MRP. Inventory can be moved to block stock in the case of damage or other reasons. So Paul, when you raise a quality notification for a true hold issue, it would block any stock within EWM automatically.
Yeah.
And then the last one is special stock, which includes stock that must be managed separately if it was consignment, return, or customer stock, etc. That one's not too relevant to us. And again, just the different corresponding codes. So F2 would represent unrestricted use stock. B6 would be block stock in the warehouse. S6 would be block stock in the warehouse designated for scrapping. And finally, Q4 would be warehouse stock in quality inspection until somebody's made a usage decision. When the create posting changes Fiori app, following tasks can be performed. So you can do a transfer posting, you can transfer stock from one stock type to another, for example, unrestricted F2 to blocked B6. So if you can see the transfer of stock from one stock type to another, i.e. unrestricted to blocked, transfer posting is referred to as a posting change in EWM. A stock change can be made by product, storage bin, handling unit, or other criteria using EWM functionality. So if I can. I'm just searching all available products there. This is in Scan. So you can see there, all the statuses are F2. So this is all unrestricted. And then, yeah, we've got one there. So this has been blocked. So this wouldn't be available for any picking.
Yeah.
That's a finished goods pallet. So that could be an example of a hold issue or it's been damaged. And if you click on handling, you can see.
Phil, is the blocking of stock in the warehouse a manual process, or is it an automatic process generated from the notification?
Yeah, so I believe any quality notification you raise, Paul, anything within EWM will automatically move to a block status. The warehouse won't have to do anything.
Right, okay.
The same,
It's just IM will have to be notified, is it, for them to block it?
well, we're working on an interface for that as well.
Right.
So that, yeah, I think there's a call at the beginning of January, so we're hoping we'll get the interfaces through from the quality notifications, which will automatically put the pallets on hold in IMI as well.
Okay.
But definitely in terms of EWM, you raise a hold at SCEM, anything that's within EWM will automatically have a stock status change.
Okay.
Right, so let's see if I can do it. So you can see here we've got an unrestricted pallet. Apologies, I'm not saying this is going to work. So you can see there the stock type is F2. And I'll try and change that to blocked. Obviously, these are obviously maybe something that you can block certain quantities on that pallet. I don't really think that's relevant. If there's something wrong with a pallet, then there you go. Let's have a look. So AA24B, I have now blocked that pallet.
Yeah, blocked at the warehouse.
It works.
I sounded as surprised as you. I've not done that before. I've learned something new myself. No, but that's quite. So that is pretty much the equivalent of what we would do today, Paul. So if I had I think there is a raw material somewhere up here. So there you go. There's a packaging material. I would be doing that process that I've just done. I'd be putting it on blocked, and then I'd be sending an email to you, Paul, saying, "Can you come over and check this pallet? I'm not sure we should be using it." And then it would be you either come over and go, "No, it's fine," or "Yeah, that's going to have to be scrapped."
Okay.
Hey, we're all learning here. So I know this sounds that this just highlights as well. If this was ever a question, you can block the pallets within that bin. You don't need to move it to a specific area. I would imagine Christine at Cooper anywhere or Coventry, if you had something you're a bit unsure, well, I don't know whether you move it to a specific area. Systematically, you don't need to do that now. You can just block that pallet within the storage bin.
Brilliant.
So yeah, and like I say, it might be a little bit different for your trads. You might want to just move it to one side because obviously it's one big storage bin. But yeah, definitely within your racking, there is no need to anything in. Again, like we said yesterday, unless it was something extreme, a bag of seasonings burst and you don't want it to go anywhere, then obviously you are going to move it, and you could move it systematically to a different location that was safer or not going to be putting any products at risk. But if it was just an example of damp card, then you can just literally do what I've just done then, change it to blocked. The system will not look to pick that pallet. So that's what we've just carried out. So this is a goods issue to a cost center. So the goods issue to cost center is initiated in S4 HANA. So you'd specify a goods issue, enter the movement type 201, then the material quantity, batch, current plant, validate the cost center, and post goods issue to cost center. And you can see at the top, that's where the EWM outbound delivery would come into it. functionality is used to post a material withdrawal or material issue. A goods issue leads to the reduction in warehouse stock. Goods issued to cost center covers outward movement of goods from the company if no reference document exists because the goods issue has not been planned. An EWM outbound delivery will be created as stock is being issued from the EWM storage location. So I think for us, the only really one for us would be if you were maybe giving some raw materials to R&D. Once the goods issue to cost center is initiated from S/4HANA and the outbound delivery is created, the warehouse processes the delivery in the same manner as all outbounds. EWM will recognize this delivery type, ZDOG, coming from S/4HANA. When issuing material to a cost center, you specify the following. So it would be the movement type, the cost center, and the material quantity, batch, plant, storage location. And again, I know some of these slides are very similar. Warehouse monitor can be used to display and process completed and open outbound deliveries. At various stages of the delivery process, access the warehouse monitor to view outbound deliveries, confirm warehouse orders, tasks, assign resources, and more. And again, very similar. The outbound delivery, the batch information isn't present until it's actually been picked from the warehouse. Again, can confirm these tasks on an RF or from the monitor. That's the same slide. I'm assuming that slide should be the one that we saw before, where the warehouse tasks have been completed, the batches would be present, and you would post the goods issue. And there it is.
Just going into the batch fill, is the batch a number of, say, pallets to make a process order, or is the batch the number on the pallet as it was made from the supplier?
The batch from the supplier will be whatever they tell us the batch is.
Yeah.
We'll use, so for raw materials, we'll use the supplier batch, and I'm assuming they'll have a standard of how they, probably like we are moving to intelligent batch for the finished goods.
Yeah.
So you can get 10 pallets from the same batch, or you can get 10 pallets for 10 different batches. That I would imagine they work very similar. It's probably by day or whatever configuration they've got. They will have a way of how they identify their own batches.
So a point from the intelligent batch. So if a batch changed, say on a 24 pack variety or something like that, so say the batch number changed from the supplier, would the intelligent batch need to know that that had changed? So say you send some pallets over and on a trailer and the batch changes, the batch numbers are changed on the trailer, so you're going into another batch, say batch 1 to batch 2. Would the production area need to know that that batch had changed? Or is that one for Hamish?
Probably one for Hamish. Is that more about the actual consumption of the raw materials?
Yeah, consumption of them in a production run. Yeah,
it will be important that they use because
it's an order.
They'll have to use it in the right order. Yeah.
It's a bit of a thing, that one, because how would we know that the batch had changed coming from the warehouse without looking at the label? Yeah, I'll pick that up with Hamish, mate. That's fine. Yeah.
It would be on the system for you though.
You'd be able to see that, yeah.
You'll be able to see what batches have been sent from the warehouse because they'll be in your PSA area.
Yeah.
You'll know what batches have come over to you, and then if it's used in the right order, then the automatic backflush should work, and you'll know which batches have gone into. But obviously, I would imagine you'll still have your processes of where someone's actually recording bag by bag what they're doing.
Yeah. It's running them in order on the shop floor. That'd be the thing, and when something changes, just to make sure that you make sure you run all of batch 1 before batch 2.
Yeah, you need to rely on the human side of that part, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. It's a behavioural thing. Yeah.
No, that it's a good point, and from a warehouse point of view, we'll have the same, not EWM. Well, yeah, we will actually, because we'll have to. there'll probably be a piece that you'll have to be given these pallets in the right order.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be searching around the trailer full of pallets to double check. So you'll need to be. It needs to be loaded in the right order. Plus,
That's it, yeah. Used in the right order, consumed in the right order as well.
Yeah, because like you say, I'm not going to lie. I've never worked in the production site, but I'm assuming it's possible if somebody had a couple of pallets of seasoning that they could grab it might be easier to grab a box off the top of another pallet. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and staging areas as well. I think, you know, when they bring line side over, I don't think they put anything in a pallet position. I don't think line side. It's something that they need to. Yeah, it's something that I'll pick up with Hamish, mate. It's something that we need to look at.
It's going to be a training piece, that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers, Phil.
No worries, Andy. So internal warehouse processing refers to internal inventory management. So HU ad hoc tasks or product ad hoc tasks. So simple example would be moving one HU from one storage bin to another. So in an ad hoc movement, you move the stock of products from one storage bin to another. To be able to reproduce these movements, you manually create a product warehouse task or a handling unit warehouse task. If you work with HUs, you can also unpack or repack products belonging to a HU by creating a product warehouse task in the HUWT. HU ad hoc tasks allow for movement of a HU from one storage bin to another within the warehouse, e.g. a movement of a full pallet of Pepsi Max from one bin to another. Product ad hoc tasks allow for the movement of product from one storage bin or one HU to another storage bin or HU within the warehouse. So e.g. movement of Mountain Dew cases from one pallet to another for consolidation. Not really something I would imagine that we would be doing particularly, but the options there, I suppose. Obviously, you just have to be mindful that whatever material you are moving from one pallet to another would have to be the same batch. You wouldn't want to be mixing batches on a handling unit.
No.
So to create a warehouse task for handling units in the Fiori app to make a HU specific ad hoc movement, using this app, products packed in HUs can be identified and warehouse order or warehouse task to move product to the designated destination location in the warehouse can be created and confirmed. So you would enter the destination HU. If in our case, I would imagine it would normally be the whole pallet. So you'd find the destination. So simple example would be you've damaged a racking location. You need to get that pallet out. Enter the destination bin where you want it to go, and then you just put 999 in the process type, and then the creation of the warehouse, the creation and confirmation of warehouse tasks, so that this transaction is confirmed. The HU is systematically moved to the correct location.
Phil, quick question. Going
Yeah.
off topic slightly, but how would trial raw materials be handled in the warehouse now? Is there a process for that?
So how they're managed today for us, Paul at Skeb, if we get any, we've got set locations and they're blocked in IMI. So you'd be able to do the same again. If it's not stock that's coming onto the system, so for any financial, are we talking like the stuff Mark Orrell gets and things like that?
Yeah, just anything that we've got a trial at the site that it's probably not on the system already in the master data and stuff.
Exactly, mate. So at the minute we have so Skem Warehouse, for example, we blocked certain locations for trial material. There's nothing systematic about it. Mark Orrell gives us an email, you're going to get this pallet, stick it in my trial racking and just move it in there. The key would be, if you've got trial racking locations for trial materials, I think I definitely know Cooper have, because I remember when I spoke to Stuart, you'd create the storage bins, you'd just block them for any activity. So the system would never look to put anything in there.
Yeah.
And that's how you'd manage anything that wasn't systematic.
Okay.
Does that make sense for you as well, Christine?
Yeah, it does. Sorry, my mouse had gone to sleep again.
No, I just thought I do remember Stuart saying that you do have trial racking, so it'd just be a case of you just close any storage locations you want relevant for trial materials. If you're not going to be systematically receiving those pallets in, you just block those particular storage bins, and you can use them for whatever you want. The system won't look at them for any put away process.
Phil, just let you know I've got another call at 10:30, so I'll have to drop off in a bit. Okay, mate.
Yeah, no, absolutely fine. No problem at all. I'm just thinking, Paul, on that note, would everybody like 10 minutes just to go and get a drink or a cup of tea, just so Paul gets a chance to have a break before his next meeting?
Yeah, that's fine, Phil.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be
Yeah.
great to get the kettle on.
Cheers, Phil. Thanks a lot.
Oh,
Cheers, Phil. Thanks.
no problem. So yeah, as we were just saying, this will be where you confirm your warehouse task. Apologies, no, we've moved on a slide, haven't we? This is the this has gone back to where we were before. Yeah, so where we were before, so we've seen an ad hoc, a change in stock status and how you can move pallets from one location to another. Materials can be, so we're now moving on to EWM scrapping. So materials can be consumed to a cost center and scrapped and disposed of as part of the production process. Damaged stock instances, product that has expired best before date or SLED date, as it will be known, storage life expiration date, or material is returned from customers in poor quality. That bit for us obviously doesn't really, the customer returns bit isn't really relevant to us. In EWM, you perform an ad hoc product or handling unit move to the scrapping bin. This product is to be physically moved to the scrap area and the stock type will automatically change to S6, blocking that stock. This can be done at the time of physical scrapping. When ready for review, the management can view all stock in scrapping bin and post the scrapping transaction to the ERP system, and that would decrease the stock quantity and value, creating relevant accounting documents in the ERP team. So the process flow, the bottom, product or HU relevant for scrapping, you create the ad hoc warehouse task to the scrap bin, then you physically move it to the scrap bin. So that would be physical segregation of material or physical scrapping is required. Confirm that ad hoc warehouse task to the scrap bin on your RF. That's your guy on a forklift who's getting the pallet out of the location. Then the scrap product would be the scrap product posting takes place. So you're basically removing the stock from the system and then physically disposing of it. So like I think we touched on yesterday, this process might actually happen when you're actually going to be doing the scrapping. So take Skem, for example, Andy, Paul, we've got 10 pallets of card that we're going to scrap. We would do this at the time we were actually going to remove that product. We don't have a scrap area, if that makes sense. Any questions from anyone?
No, that's good so far.
No.
So again, some of these screens are very similar to what you've just seen for the ad hoc task. So use the create warehouse task handling unit Fiori app to make HU specific ad hoc movements. Using this app, product paths in HUs can be identified and warehouse or the warehouse task move that product to the designated scrap bin and can be created for further processing. So as we saw before, you'd enter the destination HU and enter the destination bin as scrap. So that would then move that HU to the scrapping bin. And then obviously we've got the reason code where you put Y at the bottom, whether it was warehouse damage or best before date, quality, etc. Simple enough, still makes sense?
Yep.
Good.
Yeah. Does it give you the facility to just scrap part of it, Phil, or is it going to be the whole thing?
Yeah, you can scrap. You don't have to scrap the whole pallet. You would be able to. Yeah, you would have the facility to scrap part of it.
Okay.
You can scrap from a pallet. Yeah, I what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
I must have. I'm sorry, that aspect of it is coming from the finished goods background. This bit of it's sort of new to me.
Yeah.
So if it is a daft question, I apologise.
No, not at all. So I would imagine in the majority of cases with raw material, if you see here, if the whole HU is being scrapped, then you simply copy the HU number. If it wasn't, there is a way around that way. You could, you wouldn't have to scrap the whole pallet if it was, say, for example, one box.
Okay.
More often than not with raw materials, if there is a problem with the pallet, you are going to scrap the whole pallet. But yeah, I see what you mean.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I thought it was the same slide. So yeah, so this is similar where you're creating the warehouse task. So you enter the quantity of the source target, and then
Yeah, I think this might have just answered my question.
I was just looking at it thinking, yeah, I think this might have added.
Yeah, I think this has just answered my question, hasn't it?
It has. So yes, if the whole HU is being scrapped, then simply copy the HU number. If only some of the products moving from the original HU, you would leave that blank. So yeah, it was a good question, mate. So yeah, so this is the product, and then this is where you've put the source bin. You are now writing the amount that you want to scrap from that source bin. So if it was like the one I put before, AA24A, you would then move the amount into the scrap bin, and you would leave the HU part.
Yeah, leave that blank because you're not scrapping the whole handling unit. You're just scrapping, I don't know, 20% of it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So with our finished good heads on, Neil, yeah, it happens all the time, doesn't it? Somebody drops a box. Obviously, it's a lot rarer with raw materials.
Yeah, depot damage. Somebody's just put the fist through the side of 3 boxes on the side of a pallet of 70 here.
Exactly, mate. Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad that slide came next. That's answered the question. I'm just intrigued.
When you're scrapping film, can you change the unit quantity from kgs to cases? If you wanted to scrap just one case, obviously with raw materials it being kgs, but I'm thinking finished goods. If you wanted to just scrap one case.
Sorry, Paul. Yeah, I should have been clear. That is just a raw material example. So in Material Master, the material will have their unit. So I think the only difference is film is moving from impressions to eaches. So if that was a card or a film material, it'd say each. If it was a finished good, it would be cases. And obviously for seasoning ingredients, it's kilograms.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this would be the create warehouse task. So apologies, just you'll have to bear with me. I'm no expert. I'm just trying to see if I can demo it. Right. So if I take that one. I was looking at Scansdale. So we can switch that to form view. So that's the palette. And then you'd be able to move it to destination, bin, etc. So yeah, we're trying to move a palette now from AA24B into scrap. I don't know if this is going to work. I've never done it before. So, like we said on the screen, what do you know? It has created that warehouse order. So if we go to the monitor, so if we have a look at open warehouse orders, let's cross that. Yeah, can you see that one at the bottom?
Yeah.
That's what we just created. So final piece. This isn't necessarily how you, if I can go into the RF, you've got different options. Oh, it'd be sorry, it'd be an internal process. So manual selection. So if we select by warehouse order, so you can see there, that's the this. If you think about this is the task now that the guy on the RF gun would see. So he would scan his location, scan his handling unit, enter. And can you see there, it's telling him to go to the scrap bin?
Yeah.
So done. That's now in the that pallet now is in the scrap bin. Make sense?
Yep.
If I refresh this,
Took me ages making that palette as well.
sorry, mate. I know, and I've just scrapped it willy-nilly, not a care in the world. So now you can see that warehouse order has disappeared because we've only got open warehouse order or tasks on here. We go back to warehouse order, click off open, we'll just go and confirm. And then machine, and then that's our bottom one. So that was in. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm learning myself here.
Warehouse monitor is a useful tool, though, isn't it? That you've
Yeah,
got.
very useful, mate. Yeah. You can see there all the different. So I click on that, and you can see now it's giving me
Yeah, it's telling you what you've actually done with it. Yeah.
The warehouse task, it's showing what I've done, where the destination bin was. So you'd be able, yeah. So that's the two bits. So there's two items to that warehouse task. I've picked it up from the source bin AA24B, and then put it in the scrap bin.
Does it tell you the time it was scrapped and stuff like that if you ever wanted to trace back to prove that something has been scrapped or anything?
Yeah, so that now, so the confirmed, so you know at 10:38 that was moved. Excuse me. At 10:38, you know that was moved to the scrap bin. That's still on inventory at this point, Paul.
Yeah.
It's just sat in your scrap bin, and then yeah, when the actual posting takes place, you'll be able to see the second of everything that's been completed. So if you said to me, you know, who scrapped this pallet, I'd be able to tell you what resource. So that would obviously be someone's GPID. I'd be able to tell you who moved it from which location to that location, what time they confirmed it, and then finally who's actually scrapped it off the system.
Right.
Okay. So scrapping product, use the post-goods issue unplanned Fiori app to review the product sitting in the scrap bin. So this would be the bit, Paul, sorry, excuse me, after what we've just done. So you'd review the product sitting in the scrap bin and then create inventory postings to scrap it, and then that would remove the inventory from the warehouse. So if the inventory adjustment value posting is within the set tolerant limits of the user, the adjustment will post automatically to the system. If the inventory adjustment value posting is outside of a tolerance limit, then further approvals will be required. So with EWM, it'll go through to a different, it's called a difference analyzer. Oh, in fact, no, it won't. This is scrapping. So no, for scrapping, this will be based on roles and responsibilities. So a warehouse operator could move that pallet to the scrap bin. That warehouse operator will not be able to actually scrap that pallet off the system. That will be based on roles and responsibilities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just that extra check in place, isn't it? That we're not binning stuff that we don't necessarily need to. Yeah,
to be fair, it's the same as today. So if I take Scan Warehouse for an example, the coordinator would be setting the warehouse tasks up to move the stock. The guys who actually go and pick the stock are not the same people who actually scrap it off the system. So quite similar, but just an extra step.
Yeah, SRDC is the same. Warehouse techs have a level that they can scrap to, and after that, they then have to go and seek SOM performance coord sign off, and even if it's above that, then it's up to site finance.
It's a manual process, though, isn't it, Neil?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and that will stay the same for SRDC and your IMI sites. So yeah, like today, you go and get the approval. So replenishment, I'll quickly skip through this because this isn't really something that will be a major part of our operation because we don't do finished goods case picking. So this would be a lot bigger if the move warehouses like NRDC, SRDC, Coventry were moved into EWM. So this is just about how you get your replenishment into your fixed bins for the case pick locations. So we do have a few at Skem Warehouse and there's a few at Tolwell. So replenishment in the warehouse.
Oh, sorry, just a quick one. Do you have like a single slide which shows by site the proposed solution post April? Just just so we can just see straight away the proposal for Coventry versus Leicester versus Skelmersdale, etc., etc. Is that available anywhere?
Do you mean as in, do you want to know which site is going to be EWM and which one will be?
Exactly. So you've said SRDC is going to be IMI coupled with IM. whereas other sites are going to be like EWM, but they're not all the same, are they? All the rest of the sites?
So all the IMI sites and Stobart's and Kalina will be their own warehouse management system so there'll be inventory management with 3PL integration.
Yeah.
And all the manufacturing sites will be EWM. So it's just those two.
Apart from Leicester.
Pardon?
Apart from Leicester, right? Although Leicester's got some EWM.
No. So Laycroft, Burson, Tolwell, all EWM. Cooper, Coventry, Lincoln, Skem Factory, Skem Warehouse, all EWM. And then all the IMI sites will stay on IMI. Stobart's will stay on what they have. Kalina will stay on what they have, and they will have inventory management replacing Oracle. But yeah, I can knock that up for you in a slide, Nathan, just as a quick reference guide. That's not a problem.
I'd love that. It's just easy to share with the rest of the team. Just give them sort of a top line of what's going on and what's.
Yeah, as a top line. Yeah, that's not a problem. I can. Yeah, I'll do that for you. Yeah, it is quite trying to get your head around it at the beginning and remember which sites are which, and then you think something's relevant for one site, but actually it's not because they're not using that system. Yeah, I'll do that for you, Nathan. No problem.
Lovely. Thanks, Phil.
No problem. So EWM replenishment. Replenishment is the warehouse process by which material from reserve storage, e.g. our racking location, refills or replenishes materials to the primary storage, which would be the case fixed bins, or as we would know, a case pit location, if the stock falls below the stipulated minimum quantity. So there are three types of EWM replenishment. There's manual fixed bin replenishment. So the warehouse assigns a storage bin a fixed storage area for a specific product. When that product total in the bin falls below a certain level, then basically a coordinator would say, right, I need a replenishment, and he would create the warehouse task. Automatic fixed bin replenishment. So when product is picked for a delivery from the fixed bin storage area, the system determines if the new quantity falls below the minimum and automatically creates a warehouse order or warehouse task to the replenishment fixed bin. Apologies, I think I'm losing my voice. I've not taught this much before. And the last one, so that would be very much like our IMI today, I would imagine, Neil, where it's automatic. It gets to a certain point.
Yeah, you've got replenishment triggers on it. As soon as it drops below that, it fires off a replen to your pick location. Yeah.
And then the final one is order-based replenishment. The system reviews the requirements of a wave or any open deliveries and automatically creates appropriate warehouse order or warehouse task for refilling the fixed bin to handle the planned demand. So for manual fixed bin replenishment, you would use the replenishment stock Fiori app to manually create warehouse order or warehouse tasks for replenishing material from the high racks to the fixed bin storage area. The app must be monitored daily and create warehouse order, warehouse task replenishment for filling fixed bins. So you can see there, you can select warehouse task immediately to create, so you can set all these up. This wouldn't go into that sort of detail with our EWM sites because it's just not relevant. So obviously I'm assuming this is for like an SRDC where you've got a day loads of pick, but to be fair, they wouldn't be manually creating replens anyway, would they, Neil? You'd be doing it via the system.
There are some with the fixed floor locations, but that's there's a process on site for doing that anyway. That's not a problem.
So again, there's back to the warehouse monitor. This can be used to display and process completed and open warehouse tasks for replenishment. And finally, we've got warehouse exception processing, so in which typically processes might be interrupted and how to handle those disruptions physically and systematically. Warehouse exception codes processing include inbound processing exceptions, outbound processing exceptions, and internal processing exceptions. So for inbound processing, when warehouse order or warehouse tasks are created for inbound put away activities, there are exception cases where a bin that the system determined to be empty is not. In that scenario, you would locate a new bin for appropriate put away, enter an exception code and confirm the task and continue with the put away activities. Neil, for you, the equivalent of a movement transfer.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got the warehouse task, the system's directing it to put away. The guy's got it on his truck at this point. He gets to that location, it's blocked, or the beam's missing. I can't put it in that location. Exception code for change bin, and just put it into the next one. Happy with that?
Yeah.
So for outbound processes, when warehouse orders or tasks created for outbound deliveries, there could be disruptions in processing due to order changes or inventory shortages. These exceptions can be found at several points. Below illustrates an example of prior to picking, warehouse pick tasks have been created and released, but there is an unexpected product shortage, e.g. damage, and you can do a partial pick denial or a full pick denial. Sorry, a partial pick denial or a full pick denial exception code must be entered for product that is short. So they've gone to pick up the pallet, they found it short, you can enter an exception code in to, so partial pick denial if it's expecting 70 cases, I'm picking 65.
They have to, on that exemption code, would they have to put the number in manually?
I'm not sure. You might be able to click it and there'll be a list, but I would imagine, I would imagine there will be certain code. I think if I remember, it was a long time since we've done this user story. So I know so if it was the inbound and you were changing and you wanted to put it in a bin, I think it's CHBD, so change bin destination, and it's something similar. It's another acronym, one for and one for partial.
Cheers, Phil.
So that was if it was identified before you've actually confirmed the task. So at this bit, this is a warehouse order or tasks are created for outbound deliveries. There could be disruptions in the process due to order changes or inventory shortages. These exceptions can be found at several points. So below illustrates an example, an exception prior to loading goods. So an exception code can be used to cancel pick task for adjustments to that order.
Is that the order picker damages the pallet or something like that?
Yeah, I think that
drops his load or something.
Yeah, so this is before they've loaded it. So you can go in and manipulate the quantities, or you can remove. Yeah, you can make you could cancel one of the pallets or something. If it was found after they put it in the staging area.
Yeah.
So you also have the option, and like I say, with a lot of this, how often we would use some of these because we're not doing customer orders, I'm not sure. So I don't know how deep we have to really look into some of these, but obviously this is if you find an exception after the loading's been confirmed, they've put the task in the staging area, someone scanned and loaded the product. And then something's been found after it's been performed, the product must be unloaded and an exception can be used to cancel it from and make adjustments to the order. So warehouse exception processing for batch changes. When warehouse order or task is created, the system determines which batch should be picked. Below illustrates an exception process for changing a batch. So you found an incorrect batch and you want to change the batch, and you can use the change batch exception code and then pick the product, stage, and pick load. And again, I'm not sure how feasible how relevant that is for us. because a lot of these advanced outbound processing would involve customer orders, which is something that we don't look at. But it's good to just give you a high level overview. Cross-docking, again, I will skip through this because it's not. EWM cross-docking enables the movement of products or handling units directly from an inbound truck or goods receipt zone to an outbound truck or goods issue zone without performing any interim put away in the warehouse. The goal of cross-docking is to increase efficiency of the warehouse by reducing the number of touches per item and the amount of inventory on hand. For cross-docking to be fully functional in the warehouse, there needs to be integration with both the order to cash and transportation management value streams. This is to ensure that cross-docking can be planned ahead of time, based orders being released and trucks arriving at the warehouse. So for us, in terms of cross-docking, so in Poland, they do have scenarios that some of their EWM sites, the finished goods are going away into, they have the warehouse within their manufacturing plant where they'll store the finished goods. So the equivalent of Coventry or Lincoln storing finished goods, which we don't do. And in some cases, it will go straight onto a trailer, whereas all of our production goes out through factory clearance, and the design for that is still being finalised. So for us, Neil, it'll be we'll need to update this pack once we've got the factory clearance bit sorted, and then we'll update with the training for that.
Yeah.
So there's obviously 4 kinds of cross-docking. There's planned, opportunistic, production, and transportation. And I would imagine our factory clearance policies will fall into the production cross-docking.
Will you use any opportunist ones where working with shorter materials, but we know it's coming, we've got like an emergency delivery coming in? Would that be classed as cross-docking? It
would still come into the warehouse. So do you mean if it goes into the warehouse?
I'm just thinking, if you know that we're short and we need it for a certain time, would you not just cross-dock it rather than put it into a pick face?
Yeah, so if there was an open task, I would imagine that opportunistic cross-docking would be something that we could utilise. Does that make sense, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah. If there was a warehouse task there, and then you eventually get the pallet, then yeah. So this just represents planned cross-docking. So the option represents decision-based cross-docking. You make cross-docking decisions prior to the arrival of goods in the warehouse. So expected incoming goods are matched to outbound deliveries, so that upon arrival, the inbound receipts are reverted to the shipping area directly. Like I say, that won't be relevant for us. Opportunistic cross-docking. This type of cross-docking occurs when the goods arrive in the warehouse. When SAP EWM receives the good, it automatically searches for cross-docking opportunities for existing outbound deliveries that are being picked or shipped. So that would answer your question there, Paul. Oh, sorry. So if there was an outbound delivery in there and it was waiting and that product was on it, EWM would look at that. So when we receive that pallet in, rather than giving them a task to put it away in the film racking, it would send them to the outbound staging area for the outbound delivery.
Yeah, it makes sense to do that, wouldn't it?
So production to truck cross-docking. This type of cross-docking occurs when handling units go from the production line or production staging area to the outbound truck or outbound staging area. So that just shows you from production area straight to outbound staging. And this is probably something that looks a little bit more like ours. So this type of production to truck cross-docking, scenario B, this type of cross-docking occurs when handling units go from production line or staging area to the outbound truck or outbound staging area. So if you look at, that's probably a perfect example of what we're aiming to achieve through the factory clearance, where it comes off the lines and just gets loaded onto outbound deliveries, as we do today. This isn't relevant for transportation cross-docking, this isn't relevant for EWM in the UK anyway. So at what 2 levels can ad hoc movements be performed? product level and HU level. So you can move the full product, or you can move products off the handling unit, as we demoed with the scrapping, and then the slide that showed you can just move a certain quantity.
Yep.
So what is created when a stock transfer is performed from IM to EWM? That is an inbound delivery. What step must occur prior to making the final inventory adjustment for scrapping? And that's an ad hoc movement to the scrap bin. What is the process type for confirming replenishment tasks? It's 3010. And is it true or false? Cross-docking is an advanced EWM functionality. That is true. Right, so chapter 8. So this is production staging and receipt. So this chapter has been updated with the PMR stuff. So if I skip any slides that I don't think are relevant, then just bear with me, because I think there's some of the older slides. I think it'd be better if we just go straight to the PMR section for the UK, if everyone agrees.
Yep.
So just some more of the key terms. Apologies if you can hear a screaming child in the background.
Sounds like my house, that.
I'm assuming she's terrible too, so she's probably being naughty. So some of the key changes: batch management will be active throughout the logistics process for more efficient tracking and tracing. Extended warehouse management provides streamlined warehouse operations, improved goods movement and storage processes. Use of continuous cycle counting process will improve inventory accuracy and valuation, and there will be a real-time analytics on inventory stock values, quantities and movement. Efficient drill down of material document items will enable greater insight and quicker resolutions. So EWM production staging refers to the transfer of material from the warehouse to the production line upon the request from production. Goods receipt from production involves moving produced product from the production area to its storage area in the warehouse. So for us, the goods receipt from production doesn't go into the warehouse. That's where the factory clearance would come in, if that makes sense. What does it do? This process supports warehouse execution for process order. It enables the synchronization of material flow between the warehouse and the production, and improves inventory visibility and control as material movements are posted in real time in the warehouse. Components are staged from the warehouse to the production supply area as they are required for manufacturing operations, and then are consumed from the production supply area. That's high level. It's not really relevant because obviously PMR, we're not doing it on an outbound delivery. So EWM production material request and the staging. So it would be the warehouse to the factory, batch determination, which would be FIFO, first expiry, first out, is used only for PMR staging. Then it would either be single order or cross order. So with single order, you'd have to manually issue the materials to the process orders. Whereas with us, we're using in the UK, we'll be using cross order and backflush. And there's also warehouse tasks involved, and then the minimum max PSA replenishment quantity. So this is the high level overview of the PMR process through all the value streams. So it starts here in the top left with the planning. So there'd be planned order from the external system, so logistics, etc. They would then convert a planned order to a process order, release that process order with the and then systematically the MRP will be running in the background, and then the production material request is generated. It would then look, is it stored off site? So if the answer is no, we go straight into PMR. And this is where, so you've got two types. You've got single order and cross order staging. So is everyone aware of the difference, or would you like me to quickly run through? Yeah. So for cross order staging means that any materials in the PSA can be used across a number of process orders. So I'm assuming, again, I'm not an expert on production. Let's just take salt and vinegar seasoning that you're using for, PC salt and vinegar, and you're making 18 pack on one process order, 6 pack on another. With cross order, it would consume materials for both off the same pallet, whereas with single order staging, you're only consuming, one pallet can only be consumed against one process order. That stock in the PSA would only be reserved for that one process order. Whereas with us, we're going to be using cross order staging. However many process orders want to use that material in the PSA, it will be consumed. So if we look at the cross order bit, which is us, so the production material has been generated. We go up to here, so it would create the staging task using PMR, and it would be based on FIFO. So the warehouse will be told what pallets to pick. It won't be a manual process. The system will guide them to the pallets it wants based on FIFO. So you've got no danger that somebody would, if you've got 2 pallets of seasoning, one best before date runs out in 2 months, the other runs out 4 months after that, it would go for the one with the shortest best before date. So then you've got the physical movement. So the guy in the warehouse would then pick up those warehouse tasks, place it in the PSA, and that's all they have to do. Because we'll be using cross order and back flush. So that once that warehouse operator has scanned those pallets into the PSA, they're then available for the line side. So obviously the manual control is what we already discussed, is that people will have to use it in the correct order as well, because it's all going to be automatic.
So for you to replenish the PSA, would that come from the back flush of how much it's being used?
Yeah. So as EWM is doing the goods receipt for the finished goods.
Yep.
There'll be like an auto. I think Satish said, I think it's called auto confirmation.
Yep.
So as those pallets are being auto confirmed as they're going through, it will automatically backflush and take that material off your PSA stock.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And then obviously, so that's how that would go through. And then obviously you have the confirmation of the process order, which is obviously a production, execution, and a planning task. So once that's confirmed, it goes across to here. So obviously these are the system bits where it's the backflush of the materials and the automatic batch determination of what you've used.
Yep. And
then it would be you can clear the PSA, which would, once you finish the materials that are left, you can clear the PSA, and then that would create warehouse tasks for the warehouse to pick the returns and put them back into storage. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
The other bit of the flow, so if we go back to the left-hand side, so where it's a no, where it's nice and simple, it's Cooper, it's Lincoln, everything's within their own factory. And to be fair, in essence, Coventry's the same. So this bit is the material stored off site? So at this point, this is where the MRP would generate STRs for the materials that it needs from the off-site location. That would then need to be created into an STO and delivery documents. That would come through to the EWM. So let's just take Tolwell, nice simple example. So you'd have a little bit of both, Simon, at Laycroft, because Laycroft do store some of their own corrugate, don't they? Straight from supplier.
Yeah, they do.
So when the PMR is generated, it would give them some warehouse tasks from the stuff. They'd follow that route for the corrugate, and then obviously for the majority, you would need an STO that would go through to Tolwell. Tolwell complete that, and then the Laycroft and Burson would receive the material on site, and then they would move it. So I think from some of the master data that I've been collecting and talking about, so all the products at Tolwell will be extended to Laycroft and Burson with a status of, I think it's just called stage. So as they scan the pallets to good receipt, it will send them to the state. It'll send them to the PSA, not into storage.
Yeah, that makes sense. It just reduces one step, doesn't it?
Yeah. So as far as I'm aware, obviously, you know, still a few months off going live, so we're still confirming everything. But as far as I'm aware, that is the idea of how it would happen. They would scan the pallet and it will send them to the PSA, and then the guys, like they would today when they're taking pallets to line, they would be doing the same thing. They would just take it and drop it in the relevant staging area bins, and then it would follow the same process. Happy with that?
Yep.
Good stuff. So this is just another size. So stock if stock's unavailable in the factory, process order is released, trigger staging using PMR. There'll be no warehouse task created because there's nothing in. There was nothing, say Burson, for example, they wouldn't have anything in storage. So you'd request the material from an off-site location, the MRP will executed, the STR to STO and the delivery documents will be created. Off-site location sends the materials based on that outbound delivery. So Tolwell, for example, factory receives the product and puts away either into storage or straight into the PSA. I think it might be slightly different at Coventry. I think the pallets will go away into storage because of when they order the materials like 12 hours in advance. So the pallets aren't always coming in straight away to be put to line. So that would go into their film location, and then they would move to the PSA as and when required. So now stock is available in the factory, and it would trigger the staging and any warehouse tasks. So what is a production material request? It's a document containing all warehouse relevant data for the manufacturing order, a production order or process order. What does it do? The production material request is used for planning and monitoring the supply of products to production and for the consumption of products by production using advanced production integration. The system creates a production material request when SAP ERP sends a message containing the required information from production. SAP ERP sends this message when the manufacturing order is released. So these slides are just showing some of the differences between single order and cross order. So for single order, the process order is created and released. The PMR is created in EWM, stays the task, physical movement of the pallets and confirmed into the PSA. Stock is placed in the PSA and it would be reserved for the process order. And then you would have to carry out posting the consumption against the PO with the actual quantity used during production, which is obviously what we want to get away from and have it as automatic. So just some more. We can use single order staging to create warehouse tasks for each PMR separately. In this case, you can see the process order number on your warehouse task and you can use it for printing. After the warehouse task confirmation, the stock is reserved for this PMR item. If you want to use stock for another manufacturing order, you can release the stock. If you need the product for this PMR item again, after you've released it, you must create and confirm a new warehouse task. So it just gets very complicated when it's a single order and not cross order. So this is us cross order with backflush. So you can use cross order staging to accumulate the quantities from several PMR items and supply the product for all of them together. So for example, you have 500 kilograms of a product on a pallet. The quantities in the PMR items are between 5 and 100 kilograms. You stage one pallet and use the stock for all the orders together. For cross order staging, the stock is not reserved for a specific document. So process order release, you can see the green is the system steps. So there's a lot more green system steps in this. PMR is created, staging task against the PMR, physical movement of the pallets to the staging area. And then once the stock's in the PSA, consumption is automatic at the time of the PO confirmation, but that'll be automatic pallet by pallet. So just some of the differences between single and cross order. So with single order staging, you can use single order staging to create warehouse tasks for each PMR separately. In this case, you can see the process order number on your warehouse task and you can use it for printing. After the warehouse task confirmation, the stock is reserved for this PMR item. If you want to use the stock for another process order, you can release the stock. Consumption happens manually for each process order. So for cross order, which is what we'll be using in the UK, you can use cross order staging to accumulate the quantities from several PMR items and supply the product for all of them together. And again, that's the same example as we just went through. You have 500 kilograms of products on a pallet. The quantity in the PMR items are between 5 and 100 kilograms. You stage one pallet and use the stock for all together. For cross order staging, the stock is not reserved for a specific document and consumption happens automatically at the time of PO confirmation using backflush. But again, these were written quite a while ago, so I think this will be the goods receipt automatic confirmation.
So just on that, Phil, in terms of the backflush, I'm assuming that's the amount that was actually produced against that that process order, plus an allowance for scrap. I guess that scrap allowance is held within the master data, is it, within the BOM?
Yes, it will be. Yeah. Again, no expert on that side of it, but yeah, there will be. I think there will be wasted tolerances, and I think it'll be based on today's data.
Okay, and I guess we'd have the opportunity to manually adjust. I'm thinking about quite often we'd receive a pallet of corrugated, and the first 20 layers are spoiled because they're damaged or we can't run them through the ACPs.
Yeah, so I suppose you would also have the option to scrap them, because I think obviously I don't think it got touched on yesterday. I think there'll be something called code errors as well that come up, you know, on the back of backflush where you've used more or less than what you're expecting. So I think you'd be able to scrap stock as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
It might be one just to pick up with Hamish.
Yeah, I'll have a chat with him next time we speak. It's just a concern. It's something that regularly happens, and obviously, what we don't want to do is it's fine that we haven't got any sort of manual adjustment in there.
Yeah. So this slide is just explaining the batch determination. So stock removal strategies are used to determine stock having the earliest expiry date of the batch. When warehouse task is created against PMR, at that time the batch is auto determined. So the warehouse will not be determining what pallets you receive at production. The system will tell them what to pick. So I think this is a point that got touched yesterday on the end-to-end. So there's the min and max PSA, so you can have replenishment quantities are required for cross-order components. So warehouse task for a component is only created if the quantity in the PSA area is below the minimum quantity. Warehouse task is created for the replenishment quantity that is set up for the product. So again, that would be the master data. So just for example, if they did release a PMR and you had 5 ton of sugar in your PSA already, it's not going to start generating tasks from the warehouse if you've already got that stock within your PSA. Does that bit make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks at everything. So again, the controls for material. So warehouse sends the material request in FIFO concept. Warehouse operator must deliver in the same order. So that's obviously a physical activity. The production operator must use this in the same FIFO sequence for producing the product, and this will ensure automatic batch determination works correctly while doing process order confirmation, and it will match what is consumed.
Just on that then, Phil, so obviously if the system's telling the picker that he's got to pick, he's picking in the correct order for FIFO, but obviously when he loads it onto the wagon, he'll have to load it in the reverse order, only so the guys at the production end can get it off the trail in the right order.
Yeah, so there will be a training piece around that.
Yeah,
these things are going to have to be done in a little bit of a different. Yeah, it's not going to be loading willy-nilly.
yeah, you've got to load in reverse order, and you to get it off at the right sequence.
Yeah, so that'll be something else we'll have to look into. So just that's the confirmation, and then obviously the components will backflush as per the BOM. And it will also take, I think for production, it takes into account all the machine setup, labour and times. So automatic batch determinant for components in the process order. In the production of the finished material or semi-finished material, most of the components are batch managed. If there is more than one batch, these selected batches will automatically be sorted in the ascending order of the shelf life expiry date during the batch determination process and process order confirmation. So that's just confirming what we've already been through. So just a little bit here. So consumption from different locations, IM versus EWM. So this will cover your bulk materials, which will be inventory managed. These will be managed within inventory management because obviously there's no pallets. So it will be backflush. So in the case of backflush, deliveries generated in the PGI will be automated in EWM. But for an IM location, the PGI is also automated. So again, the bulk materials will go through the backflush process. It won't be somebody manually issuing it. That's a line. So this is just a bit about MRP. So MRP is used to create a planning basis for materials in a make-to-stock environment based on planned independent requirements and depending on warehouse stocks, planned orders or purchase requisitions are created across all BOM levels. When the planned orders and purchase requisitions are converted to process orders or stock transfer orders, will create material reservations for those requirements. In fact, I don't think these ones are really relevant because these have gone past the PMR bit now, so I'll skip over these.
Also, as our silos at Skelmersdale, are they IM managed then, are they? Is that how it works?
Silos at all EWM sites will be IM managed, yeah.
Right, okay.
It'll have a documentary batch.
Okay.
So where is production stage? So that's the production supply area. And what document type represents outbound deliveries for stage into production? That would be OPS. And again, Neil, one for me and you, we need to update these slides a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to all be about PMR rather than anything from before we decided to go with PMR. So me and you we'll have a look through this and update accordingly.
Okay.
So, any questions before we move on to the final chapter?
What's PMR?
What's what, sorry?
What's PMR that you've just been mentioning?
That's a bit easier, just select the slide on it. It's a production material request, which is generated on the back of the process orders being released.
Okay.
Happy with that, Paul?
Yeah.
Repetitive slides between the 3 different types. So there is a lot of slides, but we can skip through quite a few of them because they're all literally identical. So in this chapter, we'll list EWM physical inventory document process statuses, physical inventory tolerances, create a physical inventory document and confirm low stock physical inventory counts, plus post count differences to ERP using the difference analyzer. So just again, some of all the terms that we've seen throughout so far. Please, again, just stop me if anybody wants me to go through anything. Okay, these are some of the key changes. They're exactly the same as the ones we've seen previously in regards to EWM. So EWM, physical inventory and cycle counting overview. So PepsiCo must periodically perform physical counts of materials stored in the warehouse and storeroom to ensure physical inventory and what is reflected in the system remains accurate and in sync. In accordance with corporate policy, PepsiCo plants and warehouses are required to perform a minimum of an annual physical count or equivalent, such as periodic cycle counts where all products or all storage bins are counted. PepsiCo policy requires separation of duties for creating count documents, counting stock and posting physical inventory count adjustments. So you've got the prepare bit, so create and activate physical inventory documents, perform the count and enter the results, and then you review the count results. If applicable, create recount documents, and then post differences to ERP using the EWM difference analyzer. So again, the good old warehouse monitor. This can be used to view physical inventory documents and associated details such as product number, planned count date, current physical inventory status, storage bin, etc. So you can see there on the bottom, you've got your physical inventory documents. You can see your statuses, so whether it's active, whether it's been posted, or it's due a recount. And you can also see the storage bin, product, and the batch. So physical inventory documents, so and the different statuses. So the first one would be inactive. It's created but cannot be counted. So somebody's not put it through. Active, so that is ready to be counted. Counted, the inventory count has been performed. If it's got a status of recount, the recount document will be triggered and automatically due to a preset site, recount tolerances, or manually after review. So that again, a warehouse operator, the roles and responsibilities will be set within the EWM. So if you had 1,000 kilograms on a pallet in a storage bin, and an operator counted it and said there was only 250 kilograms, it would generate a recount document. That wouldn't just go through. That would need to be recounted and then reviewed. Then you've got posted, so it's to the difference analyzer, which updates storage bin quantity and posted adjustments to the ERP system. And you can also delete physical inventory documents if they're, if they're not relevant or you've created one by mistake.
Do you think this is going to drive an improvement in our counting process that we have now? Because obviously we know at Scammsdale when we do the Sunday counts from line side, stuff that's in PSA, we get a lot of discrepancies and it tends to come back the week after and stuff like that. Yeah,
so the fact that you will have visibility of what handling units should be in that PSA at a certain time, and you'd be able to do ad hoc counts against a storage bin, and your PSAs will be a storage bin.
Yeah, and the fact that if you've got any discrepancies, you're automatically going to get a recount if it's triggered the tolerance on it.
Yeah, and it is all systematic as well. So it's so you will see as we go through this, you can print a physical inventory document. So if I wanted somebody in Scan Warehouse to count a full aisle and just mark where the handling, I can print it. He can give it back to me, but somebody has to enter the count results onto the system.
Is it all done in real time as well? The counting and recounting, is it all?
Yeah, should be, yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms looking at roles and responsibilities, so create and activate a physical inventory document. Then operator or clerk can do the counting, enter the counts, and then manager or supervisor can analyze the difference analyzer. And then, so if it's under a certain amount, if the tolerance is, it will go straight through to the difference analyzer. Whereas if it started to be big values, that would go through to the finance manager on site, and then they would carry out the final posting, which would go through to the ERP system and update the financials. So post could be counted and it can take the inventory off stock in your warehouse, but until that as financial supervisor has posted the inventory differences to the ERP and the financial system, they can come back to you and you can reverse things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So again, as we've just discussed, tolerances can be set for quantities or currency value. So user tolerance for a recount. If certain tolerances are hit after the initial count, a recount document is automatically created. User tolerance for posting. If certain tolerances are hit, a count document will be posted to the difference analyzer. All users should have this access for posting documents with no difference count. And then finally, posting from the actual difference analyzer, which is posting the inventory differences from the differences that are found, they would from the difference analyzer, which replicates inventory adjustment in the ERP system. So even though you might post from account and update your inventory in the warehouse, it still financially wouldn't have gone through until somebody, e.g. finance manager, has posted those through the difference analyzer. It does say typically posted by warehouse manager or supervisor. I don't think that will be the case. I think it will be finance once it goes over a certain limit. So this just shows you how people are set up in like the HR Minimaster and what their tolerance groups are. So in username, that would be our GPIDs. That would be our tolerance group for posting, and then that would be the tolerance group for a recount. Because you can imagine you would want it set. So if somebody does a count and it's like 2 eaches on card, you wouldn't want to start generating recount documents for that. So that's where the tolerance levels will come in. And then again, you've got the tolerance group for the difference analyzer. So as I say, certain things under a certain value, which will be based on our GCS processes, will get posted to the difference analyzer. Obviously, if it goes above a certain quantity, then that's when it would go through to the site finance manager. It just gives us a lot better traceability and control over everything. So these are the different types of physical inventory and cycle counting. So physical inventory and cycle counting processes in EWM can be performed at 2 levels. So you can either do it at the product level or at the storage bin level. So for the different types of processes will be periodic, which would be the annual physical inventory. A full physical inventory requires that all stock materials are counted in a warehouse or storeroom facility, and this method is typically performed once a year in accordance with PepsiCo corporate policy. You've also got continuous, so this can be executed at any time during the physical period year, so an ad hoc count or a low stock physical inventory. And then you've also got cycle counting, so EWM uses indicators to categorize products. The cycle counting indicator corresponds with an interval after which a new physical inventory should be performed. And again, this would all be set on the product master. So you might have certain materials at a site which are very high value, and you might want to cycle count them once a day to make sure everything's right. Others you might be once a month. This is just a little bit, so this is called a low stock check. So a low stock check is a physical inventory procedure triggered when performing warehouse pick tasks using an RF device. The system calculates the quantity of product that a storage bin should contain after stock removal. So this would probably be more relevant for the fixed bin, so the case pick locations. If that quantity falls below a system-defined minimum quantity for a particular storage bin, the picking process is automatically interrupted and the user will be prompted to perform physical inventory count, known in EWM as a low stock check physical inventory. After the user enters the count, the system continues directing the user to finish confirming the remaining pick tasks. So if the system triggers and asks, so if they were case picking from a location, it would come up and ask them to count what was left, they'd enter it, and then that physical inventory document would be created with the counted status. Again, if there was a massive under or over tolerance, it would probably generate a recount. Just to note, these can only be triggered systematically. You wouldn't go onto the warehouse monitor and create a low stock physical inventory document. So just a brief overview. So periodic physical inventory is a type of physical inventory whereby all inventory in a facility is counted at a specific time within the fiscal year. So you've got the prepare piece. So system driven, it would be automatic system creation of annual physical inventory documents, or it can be manual creation of all the documents. You can monitor physical inventory using the EWM warehouse monitor. Then it would be the execution where you'd be performing the count, entering the results. Automatically recounts would be generated where applicable. Review count results. Is there a recount needed? Yes. If you decided there was for something certain, then you could create another recount document. If not, post inventory differences to the EWM difference analyzer. So physical inventory documents are created, so it's either systematically or manually, and using the warehouse monitor, you can monitor any progress. So for a full physical inventory, if you're doing it manually, before performing the annual physical inventory, typically the physical inventory documents will be automatically created by the system, but they can also be manually created. So there's different types. So you can see there on the left-hand side, you've got your different types of procedure. So you've got your ad hoc storage bin or ad hoc product specific, cycle counting and storage bin check. And you've also got annual, which you can do by product, or annual, which you can do by storage bin. So obviously you wouldn't activate the physical inventory documents until the count is to be performed. Once you are happy and you had everything, you would set all the documents and set the initial status to active. So all those documents would come up down below. So the warehouse monitor, which is where you can obviously see your progress, and I think this is pretty similar to the slide we saw before. So physical inventory progress can be monitored in EWM using the Warehouse Monitor Fiori app. Using the Warehouse Monitor, view physical inventory documents that have been created but are inactive, those that are active but not yet counted, and any recounts, etc. For periodic or annual physical inventories with physical inventory documents that are created inactive, mass changes can be made by selecting and choosing Activate Physical Inventory Document. So if you had a load of documents that were inactive, you could select them all and make them all active. So what is a physical inventory document? This is the central element of physical inventory management. Physical inventory documents are used to plan and carry out physical inventory processing, enter count related information, and post differences to accounting. What's the minimum requirement for performing a physical inventory at PepsiCo, which is once a year? So who can create physical inventory documents? At the minute, it's set as warehouse manager or supervisor, but I would imagine we'd want warehouse clerks to be able to do that as well. And who can post physical inventory differences? So that would be the financial supervisor if it was on the difference analyzer. True or false, annual physical inventories can be performed at the storage bin or product level, and that is true. You can do either or.
I'm assuming things like film will have a quite high tolerance level if it's counting impressions, because obviously a lot of it's you have to do you have to kind of do a bit of a guesswork, don't you, with the part reels and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Yeah, you would imagine you would imagine there'll have to be some sort of tolerances in there. And again, I think that I would imagine that will be set at the master data level. So that was basically what you go through for your annual. The next is cycle counting. So cycle counting is a type of physical inventory whereby inventory is counted at regular intervals within a fiscal year. These intervals depend on the cycle counting indicator set on the EWM product master. Cycle counting allows fast-moving items to be counted more frequently than slow-moving items, or it allows higher value items to be counted more frequently than lower value items. So this will be set at a site level. So what Coupa does for one product can be completely different for what Sken does for another. So you'll see here, so the cycle counting indicator, you can see there on the right hand side, that's where it would be A could correspond to once a day, B could correspond to every 2 weeks, or I think it would be set within working days. So it indicates that the product is subject to cycle counting method of physical inventory. This indicator also defines at which time intervals of physical inventory is to be carried out for the product. Cycle counting indicators can be set in the master data at site level. This applies to the time structure that the indicators represent, i.e. indicator A could be 2 weeks at one site and daily on another. So yeah, just repeating what I just said then.
Don't let Ed know about this, because I'm sure Ed will be having your daily counts.
Yeah, in production, that's fine. not with 3,500 warehouse locations. But to be fair, it is quite a good tool. I don't know. Let's just say, for instance, at Sken, we did have a material that was £4,000 a bottle. It would be good that you can set that where somebody goes and checks that every day. That would be an extreme example. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're not going to be setting cycle car indicators for once a day for corrugate and finished goods. It wouldn't. Yeah. So again, this is just going through the ABC analysis. So how you set your indicators in the product master. So it can differentiate between higher value materials or fast and slow materials. So example A, every month, total value 80%, total amount 15%. That's sort of the logic. So again, I won't go through it because I know we're running short of time. This is exactly the same process flow as before. It's just a difference in the creation. It's a cycle count document rather than an annual document. Is everybody happy?
Yep.
Yeah.
I just don't want to, some of these slides are exactly the same. So this, again, this is exactly the same as the one before. When you're creating a physical inventory document, rather than clicking annual, you're clicking cycle count.
Yeah, it's just
Creating
straightforward, that, isn't it?
The system will create automatic. So if we had cycle counter indicators set in the system, it would automatically create these physical inventory documents, and someone would be prompted that, hang on, this product needs cycle counting within these 5 days. Again, you can monitor it on the good old warehouse monitor, and you can see the statuses, whether they're active, etc. So what is a cycle count indicator? Cycle count indicators are used to group materials together into individual categories. Normally the cycle count indicator is assigned when the ABC analysis is created. Which app can be used to monitor the progress of an inventory count? That would be the warehouse monitor. Who can create recount documents? That would be a manager or supervisor. Cycle counts are physical inventory procedures performed periodically on a specific product. That is true. And what happens as a result of posting inventory count differences using the difference analyzer? And that is that the inventory adjustments are posted to the ERP system and the product quantity and value are updated. The financial document is created when posted to the ERP system. So if somebody, simple, if somebody did a count and there was 100 cases on a pallet, they said, and it was worth £100. If they said it, if they did the count and it was 90, and then there was no recount, no recount needed, we were happy that was what was correct in there, it can be posted. The inventory in the warehouse will change to 90, but the financially will still have £100 worth. Once that's gone through the difference analyzer, that would update ERP and it would update the financials. So there will be tolerances. So certain things under a certain amount will just automatically get posted through to the difference analyzer. It's just in the event that it was something high value we were trying to write off as the result of a cycle count or a physical inventory count, there is that extra step of security that finance would be able to review that before it gets posted through to the ERP and the financial system. They could turn around and say, hang on a minute, I want this investigated before I post this. Does that make sense at a high level?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense. Yes, you want your line sides or you want your stock figure accurate. Your financial stuff can sort of come along behind it.
And yeah, and I think the thing, and to be fair with finished goods, because the value isn't that high, 10 boxes or whatever, it would probably go through. It's a different story when you're talking about why are we missing 10 boxes of seasoning that's worth £500–600, and it's just that extra little bit. And I think it'll just drive people, hang on a minute, before I post this, let's go and have a look. What's the reason? Because just remember, this is through physical inventory. This is not scrapping because of damage.
Yeah.
So this is purely, I'm doing a count. Why am I missing a pallet that's worth £3,000 from a storage bin?
Yeah.
And obviously you would do an investigation, but it's just that extra level that somebody separate from the operation has to post it to the ERP system. So that difference analyzer bit wouldn't be your warehouse manager. So for example, let's go back a year, Paul. You might automatically assume that would be me who would be able to do that. I'd be able to post the count results. I wouldn't be able to post it through. if it had gone over a certain tolerance to the ERP. Which, to be fair, is a good thing, because at the minute stuff like that's all offline and it's an email getting permission, etc.
Yeah.
So now we add an ad hoc physical inventory. So this is where, you know, if something doesn't look right or whatever, or if you just thought, right, I want, you know, we're not busy today, I want an ad hoc physical inventory count of aisle AB, level A, you can do that. And on the ad hoc, you can count at the handling unit level or the actual product level, which I should be able to show you. Again, same screens, you're just changing the different type.
Do you think that'll be? Do you think you'll utilize that if you're at a scam? Would you be using that? Do you think if you wanted to prep for the annual? Or
Within
like
the warehouse.
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think these ad hoc ones would be more suitable because of the amount of stock, whereas the cycle counting is done at the product level.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting. I think these ad hoc ones could be utilized quite a bit because you can do it storage bin specific, and you can just state whether there's a handling unit in there or not.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So I could send, and by the way, you can do all this counting on an RF gun or on paper. But if it's done on paper, somebody has to physically enter the results. But obviously, it is a lot quicker to go and tick pallets off a list than it is possibly to go through every RF screen.
Yeah.
Again, there you can see the statuses. So here's a quick one. Ad hoc inventory procedures can be performed at storage bin or product specific. Is that true or false?
That's true.
Well done, Neil. What happens as a result of posting inventory count differences using the difference analyzer?
Shit, really, it's the fan.
It needs to get approved, doesn't it, at higher level?
Yeah, so what it actually does though is it updates the ERP and the financial system. So that's once finance of a
Oh right, once they've approved it.
they've approved, yeah. True or false, paper-driven counting is available for physical inventory. So yeah, that's true. You can print a paper version of the physical inventory documents. Who can post physical inventory documents within the difference analyzer? That would be the financial supervisor. Linking in with that. Recount documents are automatically triggered each time a counter exceeds a recount tolerance. So that's false. Recounts will only be triggered automatically once. If further review is needed, a manual recount physical inventory document must be created. So if I sent somebody out and they said there was a missing pallet of film, it would generate a recount. If they went out and they had the same result, if I wanted it recounting again, I would have to create another document myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. Otherwise, you could just finish up with a recount on a recount on a recount.
You'd be there all day.
You'd be there all day, yeah, and the answer still comes back as there's a pallet missing.
I would imagine in real time, what would actually happen is, right, let's investigate, and then someone would probably find that pallet, and then you could generate a recount document.
Yeah.
There's no, but you know, if you've counted it once and you've counted it twice, and you're getting the same result,
why count it a third time? There's obviously something wrong.
You would either generate another recount because you've solved the investigation and somebody's left the pallet in the staging area and confirmed the location by accident, or yeah, exactly. I would imagine that. Otherwise, like you say, it could be recount after recount.
Yeah.
So this bit just goes through the this is the system, whether it's system directed print or and the entry of the results. So for system directed RF counting, warehouse employees will log onto their devices and access the internal processes queue. Physical inventory counting, warehouse order task will direct users to the correct storage bins, and results of the counts can be directly entered onto the RF device. So you log onto the RF, go to the storage bin as directed, count, and then it would synchronize. Either trigger the recount or make the postings.
Yeah, it seems very, very similar to the cycle counts they do in the SRDC on the finished good pick locations. It comes up on the RDT, they go off and scan the barcode on the box, enter the quantity, confirm it, move on to the next one. And when you upload that,
The stock controller would make the
stock
inventory.
control. No, actually, it adjusts the system as soon as you confirm the count.
Oh, right, does it? All right.
Yeah, but your stocky will download it into it or take it off the gun into an Excel file, and then have a look. If there's any huge variances, then they can. It's a very manual process. Then they'll manually generate a recount.
Oh, good stuff.
But as you sort of hit the button and go confirm, that's when it updates IMI.
Right. Yeah, I get you.
But I say it seems to be a lot more manual than this.
Yeah, this is nothing like I've ever seen before in terms of systematic counting.
Yeah. No, what I'm seeing with this whole the PGT thing, we seem as though we're starting to get away from this massive reliance on Excel spreadsheets that the business has had for years.
Yeah, possibly true.
Yeah.
All these documents will be stored. So if you ask me to review the Skelmersdale warehouse cycle counts from November, I'd be giving you 2 pieces of paper.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be
I'd be giving you 2. So we print the, from IMI, we print is it the 07 report or 08 report? Yeah. We obviously don't keep all them. They use them to count, tick, tick, tick. And then we have a sheet where they'd write for each aisle, no issues or missing pallet. And then obviously they don't make any adjustments. That's where the coordinators and the supervisor would come in.
Yeah.
But very, very manual compared to what you're going to be able to see any physical inventory document assigned to a storage bin for however long the data lasts.
That's good, because like you say, with the SRDC, with the case pick, the pick face counts, I can have a look at counts for the last 2 years. You can bring your car because the folders are going to need to go in your boot.
Yeah. This obviously, just to write, this won't be relevant for SRDC though.
Oh, no. No, say because we're still running IMI, but it seems to be that normally where you do this and chuck it on an Excel sheet, that's sort of going out the window.
Yeah. So this bit for paper-driven inventory counting, the physical inventory documents are to be printed, which can be done directly from the warehouse monitor, and then the accounts can physically record the results before handing it back to Unil in stocks or whatever, and they would enter the count onto the screen. So this is this bit here. So entering paper-driven count results using the count physical inventory Fiori app. So the user tolerances will drive whether a recount document will automatically be created or not. And there you can see in there, I know it's quite small, but obviously you'd have your physical inventory document that was created originally and the warehouse order, and then the different storage bins, and then you would enter the quantity. So review and create recounts. So the warehouse monitor, central to the physical inventory process, makes it easy to drill down based on plan date and physical inventory procedure. So e.g. annual physical inventory on all storage bins to evaluate status and progress of physical inventory counts. Focus on difference quantity and difference value and decide if a manual physical inventory recount is required for certain bins or products. So you have got the ability to, if you want to generate a recount, you can do if you're not happy with something.
Yeah.
So in the difference analyzer, physical inventory count differences are displayed at both cumulative and individual level. So the individual differences are given a link to the document that caused the difference. That's a cumulative level differences with the same stock key are displayed in an aggregated way. They are displayed independently of the document and the process in which they occurred. And the aim is to show the balance of difference to reduce the number of posts into the ERP system, not only aggregated by stock unit of measure. So if you look here, this is probably what the site finance manager would see.
Yeah.
So that's the difference quantity. That's the difference in quantity that's been recorded.
Yeah, I got the difference in value.
And that's the difference value. I would imagine stuff like that post, when that comes up saying £5,600, it's probably, whoa, hang on a second. And
Yeah.
got the option to block. So after that, we've been through the creation of physical inventory documents, cycle count inventory documents, the physical inventory document process different statuses, the low stock physical inventory counts, and posting count differences to the ERP using the difference analyzer. So finally,